Security Officer Thompson blocks a well-dressed black woman at a federal building entrance. "Your kind has no place in this building. One word from me and I could make you disappear." The woman remains motionless, her expression unreadable as she reaches into her purse. She produces an identification card, extending it with steady fingers. Thompson snatches it, studies it for a second, then tosses it to the floor with a smirk. "Pick it up," he commands, watching as she slowly bends to retrieve her ID. "I don't care what fake ID you have. This is a secure federal facility." He gestures to a small table beside the security checkpoint. "Empty your purse. Everything." His eyes flick dismissively to other employees, all white, who stream past without inspection. The woman methodically removes each item, arranging them with precise movements while Thompson hovers, scrutinizing every object with exaggerated suspicion. As she carefully repacks her belongings, she looks directly into Thompson's eyes. "Do you know who I am?" she asks, her voice quiet but clear. Thompson laughs, a harsh sound that echoes through the lobby. "Just another nobody trying to be somebody." Little does he know, she's about to become his worst nightmare. Alina Davis steps through the revolving doors of the Philadelphia FBI field office at precisely 8:47 a.m. The newly appointed director has chosen business casual attire, charcoal slacks, and a navy blouse, deliberately understated. Today isn't about flashing credentials or pulling rank. It's about seeing operations as they truly function when leadership isn't expected. Officer Thompson stands at his post, 15 years of security service hanging from his belt in the form of an over-polished badge. His eyes track Alina the moment she enters, narrowing slightly as she approaches. This isn't his first encounter with someone who doesn't fit his mental image of who belongs. "ID and purpose of visit," he demands without the courtesy of eye contact. Thompson's mind races with assumptions. What's she doing here without an escort? Probably lost. Maybe cleaning staff who doesn't know which entrance to use. A quick series of flashes, memory fragments from Thompson's personnel file that will later surface. 3 complaints of excessive screening dismissed in 2022. 1 formal grievance mysteriously deleted from the system last year. A pattern, systematic and undeniable. To Thompson's right, a white businessman approaches security. "Morning, Jim," Thompson calls, waving him through with a cursory glance at his badge. "How's that golf swing coming along?" A white woman follows, her purse uninspected as Thompson buzzes her through with a smile. "Have a good one, Ms. Roberts." Thompson turns back to Alina, his expression hardening. He beckons to his partner at the adjacent station. "Hey, Reynolds, got another one trying to slip through," he says, just loud enough for Alina to hear. "Probably cleaning staff who doesn't know her place." Reynolds glances up, a flicker of discomfort crossing his features before he shrugs non-committally. Thompson slides Alina's ID back across the counter. As she reaches for it, he deliberately lets it fall to the floor between them. His eyes lock with hers, challenging, expectant. As Alina bends to retrieve her ID, Thompson doesn't realize he's just committed career suicide. Alina rises slowly, ID card pinched between her fingers. Her movements are deliberate, dignified, each second stretched taut with unspoken tension. She meets Thompson's gaze, her expression revealing nothing of the calculated assessment happening behind her eyes. "May I have your name and badge number, please?" Her voice carries the quiet authority of someone accustomed to being heard the first time. Thompson scoffs, his hand moving to cover his identification badge. "Why? So you can file a complaint that'll never be read?" The fluorescent lights catch the sweat beading along his hairline despite the building's aggressive air conditioning. Reynolds shifts his weight from one foot to another, eyes darting between Alina and his partner. His discomfort is palpable, but his silence is complicity distilled to its essence. "I have an appointment," Alina states, no defensiveness in her tone, just simple fact. "With who?" Thompson demands, reaching for the desk phone. He deliberately misspells her name as he calls, watching her with performative suspicion. "No Alina Davis on today's list." he announces after a cursory conversation. No appointment exists. Check again, Alina suggests. Perhaps under Director Davis? Thompson's laugh comes too quickly, too loudly. Listen, there's no appointment. You need to leave now, or I'll have you removed for trespassing. His hand drifts toward his weapon, an unconscious tell of escalation. From across the lobby, a young analyst named Taylor looks up from a file, recognition dawning across their face. A memo circulated last week. Director Davis conducting surprise inspections throughout the month. Taylor takes a half step forward, then hesitates, mentally calculating personal risk against moral obligation. I'm not leaving, Alina says, her voice level despite Thompson's growing agitation. I have legitimate business here. Thompson steps around the security desk, invading her space. That's it. I'm calling backup to remove you from the premises. His voice rises, designed to create a scene, to frame Alina as the aggressor. You're making a mistake, she says, not a plea but a warning. Thompson's radio is already in his hand. We'll see about that. You have exactly 5 seconds to step aside, or I promise you'll regret ever putting on that badge. Security backup to main entrance. Belligerent trespasser refusing to comply. Thompson's voice crackles through the radio, his eyes never leaving Alina's face. He gestures toward a hard plastic chair positioned against the wall. Sit. Now. Alina evaluates her options with clinical precision. Creating a scene serves no purpose. Documenting this encounter serves many. She takes the seat, back straight, hands folded in her lap as curious eyes turn toward the unfolding spectacle. Attempting to infiltrate a federal building, Thompson announces loudly for the benefit of passing employees, claims to have an appointment that doesn't exist. Reynolds approaches, lowering his voice. Maybe we should run her credentials more thoroughly, check the database again. Back to your post, Thompson snaps. I've got this handled. For 23 minutes, Alina notes the exact time on the lobby clock. Thompson makes her wait. He processes 17 other visitors during this period, 15 white, 2 Asian, all with minimal screening, all while she sits in public view like a cautionary exhibit. Stand up, Thompson finally commands, retrieving latex gloves from his station with theatrical slowness. Enhanced security check. Alina rises, maintaining neutral eye contact as Thompson circles her. Remove your jacket. Shoes, too. His voice carries just enough for nearby visitors to turn and stare. People like you are known to conceal items. People like you. The phrase hangs in the air, heavy with implication. Alina complies, cataloging each violation, each witness, each camera angle with methodical precision. Arms out. Thompson's gloved hands move along her sides, lingering inappropriately at her ribs. Standard procedure, he adds, with a smirk that suggests otherwise. A rustle of movement breaks the tension. Taylor approaches carrying a paper cup of water, extending it toward Alina with nervous determination. Thought you might need this, Taylor says, leaning in to whisper, I know who you are. Alina accepts the water with a subtle shake of her head, stand down, her eyes communicating what her position cannot. Thompson intercepts, knocking the cup from Alina's hand. Water splashes across the polished floor. You don't interact with suspects, he barks at Taylor. Return to your workspace or I'll report you for interfering with security protocol. Throughout the humiliation, Alina's gaze systematically catalogs faces, name badges, witnesses, the security camera in the northeast corner, the timestamp on the digital display, the receptionist averting her eyes in shame. She isn't just enduring this moment, she's preserving it, preparing it for the record. Put your shoes back on, Thompson finally says. Slowly. As Thompson turns to retrieve his radio, it crackles to life with his supervisor's urgent voice. Thompson, report to Station 2 for package inspection. The radio falls silent, leaving Thompson visibly annoyed at the interruption. Don't move, he orders Alina before stalking away. In his absence, Alina makes her move, not from panic or desperation, but with the calculated precision of someone accustomed to contingency planning. She reaches into her jacket pocket, extracting her phone with subtle efficiency. 3 letters comprise her text to her executive assistant, XRY. Nothing more is needed. Protocol established on her first day as director. Across town at FBI headquarters, Assistant Director Coleman's phone vibrates. Her expression shifts from routine bureaucratic fatigue to sharp focus. She reaches for a secure line, initiating a series of predetermined actions. No questions asked. No confirmation needed. Thompson returns, his stride purposeful, eyes narrowed with renewed suspicion. "In here," he directs, gesturing toward a windowless security office. "Now." The room is small, utilitarian, with a metal desk and 2 chairs bolted to the floor. Thompson closes the door with a deliberate click. "Phone," he demands, palm outstretched. "Security procedure." Alina surrenders the device, already having sent what was necessary. Thompson places it in a metal drawer, locking it with theatrical emphasis. "You know," he says, his voice dropping to a confidential register as he leans against the desk, "people who don't belong disappear all the time in our system. Paperwork gets lost, access gets denied." His smile doesn't reach his eyes. "No one would even look for someone like you." When Thompson exits to retrieve forms, Alina's gaze immediately locates the security camera in the upper corner. She positions herself precisely in its view, facing the lens directly. "Officer Thompson has threatened that people who don't belong disappear all the time," she states clearly, reciting his exact words for the record. He further stated, "No one would even look for someone like you," while confiscating my personal property and detaining me without cause. Her eyes catch the landline phone on the desk. She lifts the receiver, dialing a number from memory. "Authentication code 8736 Delta, she states when the line connects. "Silent protocol, Field Office Philadelphia, security desk, no intervention." She replaces the receiver just as Thompson's footsteps approach. The scene splits. Alina sitting composed in the barren room while across the city, her executive team mobilizes with practiced efficiency. Assistant Director Coleman notifies Deputy Director Harrison, who accesses the security feed. Within minutes, 16 senior FBI officials are watching Thompson's every action in real time, recording every word, every gesture. Harrison's finger hovers over the intervention button, then withdraws. He recognizes Alina's strategy. She's not just experiencing discrimination, she's documenting a systemic failure from the inside. "Let it play out," he orders, per the director's instruction. Thompson returns, smiling, unaware that every federal official who could end his career is now watching. Thompson slaps a sheaf of papers onto the metal desk, the sound sharp in the confined space. "Detention documentation," he announces with bureaucratic satisfaction. "You've failed to meet security clearance requirements for this facility." He slides the forms toward Alina, tapping a signature line at the bottom. "Sign here. Acknowledges you were denied entry for non-compliance with federal security protocols." Alina scans the document, immediately identifying the waiver of rights buried in the legal language. "I'm not signing this," she states simply. Thompson's jaw tightens momentarily before his features arrange themselves into mock concern. He reaches for his coffee cup, positioned precariously close to the desk's edge. With a movement too deliberate to be accidental, his elbow nudges it. Dark liquid splashes across Alina's cream-colored blouse. "Clumsy me," Thompson says, producing a handful of rough paper napkins. "Let me help you with that." Alina accepts the napkins without reaction, dabbing at the spreading stain while maintaining unwavering eye contact. "Thank you," she says, each syllable precisely measured. The door opens. A man in a crisp suit appears, his ID badge identifying him as Office Manager Patel. "Is there an issue here?" Patel asks, eyes moving between Thompson and Alina with professional concern. "Security matter," Thompson replies curtly. "Not your department." "This woman has been detained for quite some time," Patel persists. "Has her identity been verified through the central database?" Thompson's posture shifts subtly, a predator sensing a challenge to territorial dominance. Maybe I should review your access credentials, Patel. See if they're still appropriate. The threat hangs in the air, naked and effective. Patel's resolve visibly wavers, his gaze dropping. Just following up on unusual activity reports, he mutters, already retreating. I'll find you later, Thompson calls after him, the promise unmistakable. At FBI headquarters, the command room buzzes with focused activity. Analysts pull Thompson's personnel file, revealing 17 similar incidents over a 12-year period. Each complaint mysteriously closed without action. Each connected through a labyrinth of bureaucratic misdirection to the same security contractor, FedGuard International. Back in the small room, Thompson turns to Alina, all pretense of professionalism abandoned, now they're alone. Your kind always thinks the rules don't apply, always looking for special treatment. His voice drops lower, but I'm here to make sure everybody gets exactly what they deserve. You know what happens to troublemakers in custody? Thompson whispers, leaning too close. They have accidents. I need medical attention, Alina announces, one hand pressed against her chest. My heart is racing. I'd like a witness present. Thompson studies her for signs of deception, his eyes narrowing. Convenient timing. No one's falling for that act. I'm not acting, Alina responds evenly, and denying medical care to a detainee is a violation of Section 4.7 of the Federal Security Protocols. Thompson's surprise at her knowledge flickers briefly across his face before his mask of authority returns. Claiming medical distress to obstruct security procedures, he says, making a show of writing this down. Possible psychological instability noted. He's creating a paper trail, building his justification brick by careful brick. Alina observes this with the detached interest of someone watching a predictable play unfold exactly as anticipated. The door opens again. Officer Reynolds enters, uncertainty written in the hesitant set of his shoulders. Any update on the verification? He asks, deliberately not looking at Alina. Still processing, Thompson responds tersely. Why don't you make yourself useful and go monitor the east entrance? Reynolds shifts his weight, uncomfortably aware of his choices narrowing. Look, maybe we should just let her go with a warning. It's been over an hour. Are you questioning my judgment? Thompson's voice rises, calculated public humiliation deployed as a control mechanism. Because I can add insubordination to today's report if that's what you want. Reynolds' spine straightens momentarily before collapsing into acquiescence. No, just checking in. Then check out. Thompson dismisses him with a flick of his wrist. As Reynolds retreats, Thompson turns his attention to Alina's purse, still on the desk between them. Time for additional screening. He upends the bag, personal items cascading across the metal surface. His fingers sift through her possessions with invasive deliberation. A wallet, keys, a protein bar, a small notebook. At the bottom, a plastic card with the FBI logo catches his attention. Well, well, he says, holding it up. Fake federal ID. That's a serious offense. The card is clearly marked FBI Athletic Facilities, but Thompson chooses to see only what serves his narrative. Impersonating a federal officer. Now we're getting somewhere. Taylor appears in the doorway, holding a file folder. Sir, I have information regarding... Did I call for you? Thompson cuts them off. One more interruption and you can clean out your desk. Understood? Behind Taylor, Patel returns with another man, Assistant Security Director Wilson. Thompson, Wilson says, his tone neutral but authoritative. What's the status here? Thompson stands straighter, addressing a superior but maintaining his dominance display. Potential security breach. Subject attempted entry with falsified credentials, then presented a counterfeit FBI identification. I'm preparing charges. Chen frowns. Have you run her information through NCIC? I know how to do my job, Thompson replies, an edge creeping into his voice. Maybe you should be more concerned about the contractor renewal evaluations coming up next month. I hear my uncle is quite interested in performance reviews this quarter. The implied threat hangs in the air. Thompson's uncle, senior vice president at FedGuard, the security contractor that employs them all. Wilson's expression hardens, but he steps back, choosing his battle carefully. Keep me updated, he says, retreating with Patel in tow. Alina notices the security camera's indicator light change from steady red to blinking. Executive override activated. Thompson positions himself at the computer terminal, fingers flying across the keyboard with bureaucratic efficiency. Preparing your removal documentation, he announces, satisfaction evident in the upward curl of his mouth. You'll be blacklisted from all federal facilities, permanently. He reaches for the desk phone, dialing with theatrical deliberation. This is Officer Thompson at the Philadelphia Federal Building. I need local police assistance with a trespasser impersonating a federal agent. He recites the address, adding, approach with caution. Subject has shown signs of instability. Reynolds appears at the doorway again, determination temporarily overcoming his usual deference. Thompson, I've been checking her credentials more thoroughly. He holds up a printout. There are inconsistencies with your report. The name matches an active federal... Give me that, Thompson interrupts, snatching the paper and scanning it briefly before crumpling it into his pocket. Your security access is temporarily suspended, Reynolds. Surrender your badge until this situation is resolved. Reynolds hesitates, hand moving protectively toward his identification. Now, Thompson demands, palm outstretched. Or explain to your wife how you lost pension eligibility 6 months before retirement. The threat lands with precision. Reynolds slowly unpins his badge, placing it in Thompson's waiting hand before retreating, defeat evident in every line of his body. Now wielding both their authorities, Thompson returns to the computer with renewed vigor. Let's make this official, he announces, typing rapidly while narrating his fabrications aloud. Subject exhibited aggressive behavior when approached, refused to comply with standard security measures, verbally threatened officer when asked for identification. Alina watches him create his alternate reality, each keystroke digging his professional grave deeper. She decides to use his momentum against him. Why are you doing this? She asks, her tone genuinely curious rather than confrontational. Thompson pauses, momentarily thrown by the question's simplicity. Doing what? My job? Treating me differently than the others who entered this building. His fingers hover above the keyboard. I'm applying proper security protocols to a suspicious individual. What made me suspicious? Alina presses gently. Specifically. Experience, Thompson answers, resuming his typing. 15 years at this desk teaches you to recognize who belongs and who doesn't. And I don't belong because... The trap is set with such subtlety that Thompson walks directly into it. People like you always have an agenda, always trying to get where they shouldn't be, demanding special treatment. His typing grows more forceful, punctuating his words. Someone needs to maintain standards. Someone needs to protect these institutions from being overrun. Each word is another nail in his professional coffin, each syllable captured by the blinking camera above. A commotion in the hallway draws Thompson's attention. The local police have arrived, waiting in the lobby as protocol requires. Thompson stands, straightening his uniform. Wait here, he instructs, gesturing to a young security officer to watch the door. Don't let her leave. The junior officer nods nervously, clearly uncomfortable with the situation, but unwilling to challenge authority. Officer Thompson, a commanding voice calls from the doorway. I believe you're about to meet the FBI director. Deputy Director Harrison stands in the doorway, his 6'4" frame filling the space with authoritative presence. Behind him, 4 agents in impeccable suits form a human barrier between the security office and the growing crowd of onlookers in the lobby. Thompson turns, irritation flashing across his features at the interruption. His expression shifts to relief when he spots the FBI credentials displayed on Harrison's lapel. Sir, Thompson says, straightening his posture, Thank you for responding so quickly. I've detained a woman attempting to infiltrate your facility with falsified credentials. Harrison says nothing, simply steps aside, creating space for Thompson to continue digging his professional grave. She's been belligerent, uncooperative, and presented a counterfeit FBI identification card, Thompson continues, warming to his narrative. I've already contacted local police to process her arrest for impersonation of a federal officer and— Officer Thompson, Harrison interrupts, his voice carrying the quiet authority of someone who never needs to raise it. Have you ever met FBI Director Alina Davis? Thompson's flow of words stops abruptly, his brain struggling to process the question's implications. The director? No, Harrison steps fully into the room and extends his hand toward Alina. Director Davis, on behalf of the Philadelphia field office, I deeply apologize for this unfortunate reception. The color drains from Thompson's face as reality crashes through his carefully constructed narrative. His mouth opens, closes, opens again as Alina rises from her chair, accepting Harrison's assistance with quiet dignity. Deputy Director Harrison, she acknowledges with a nod. I see you received my signal. Yes, Director. We've been monitoring for the past 47 minutes. Harrison turns to Thompson, whose complexion has now taken on a grayish hue. Officer Thompson, you've just participated in an unannounced field inspection of security protocols and bias incident response. I was just following standard procedure, Thompson stammers, his confident demeanor evaporating like morning dew under harsh sunlight. The director didn't identify herself properly. I had no way of knowing. Is threatening to make someone disappear standard procedure, Officer Thompson? Harrison asks, removing a tablet from his suit jacket. He taps the screen and Thompson's voice fills the room. People who don't belong disappear all the time. No one would even look for someone like you. Thompson's eyes dart frantically around the room, settling on the security camera he'd forgotten in his power play. The blinking light now seems to mock him with each pulse. Alina steps forward, her presence filling the small space despite her modest stature. When she speaks, her voice carries the weight of institutional authority and personal resolve. Officer Thompson, in the past 90 minutes, you have committed 17 separate violations of federal security protocols, 11 violations of civil rights statutes, 4 instances of abuse of authority, and 3 documented acts of intimidation against fellow security personnel. She lists each offense with methodical precision, like a prosecutor delivering a closing argument. What you don't know, she continues, is that this field office has registered the highest number of discrimination complaints in the Bureau over the past 18 months, complaints that mysteriously disappear from the system within days of filing. Her gaze is unwavering, unflinching. Your behavior today wasn't just witnessed by everyone in this room. It was the final piece of evidence in a 6-month investigation into systemic discrimination within federal security contractors. Thompson's gaze darts to Reynolds, who stands in the doorway with a mixture of vindication and disbelief etched across his features. To Taylor, whose earlier attempts to intervene now register as acts of moral courage. To Patel and Wilson, observing from a safe distance, their faces unreadable. I was just doing my job, Thompson whispers, the words hollow even to his own ears. No, Alina corrects him with quiet certainty. You were abusing your position to indulge personal prejudice, and you've been doing it for years. Harrison gestures to 2 agents who step forward. Officer Thompson, please surrender your security credentials and access cards. You are being placed on administrative leave pending full investigation. As the badge is unpinned from his chest, the weight of consequences finally registers in Thompson's eyes. The sudden, vertiginous drop of a man who has just stepped off a cliff he didn't know was there. This isn't just about you, Officer Thompson, Director Davis says calmly. This is about everyone who enabled you. And I have a list. The Philadelphia field office transforms into a hive of controlled chaos over the next 72 hours. FBI teams in crisp suits move through the security department with methodical precision, audit tablets in hand. They review access logs, security footage archives, and complaint records with the focused intensity of archaeologists uncovering a long-buried civilization. Thompson sits alone in his apartment, tie loosened, shirt rumpled from 18 sleepless hours. His phone vibrates against the coffee table, the seventh call from FedGuard executives in as many hours. He stares at the screen without reaching for it, watching it buzz itself into silence. The message that follows is succinct. Do not speak to anyone. Legal representation en route. Across town, in a glass-walled conference room, FedGuard's crisis management team assembles with grim determination. Senior Vice President Thompson, Officer Thompson's uncle, paces the perimeter while corporate attorneys spread documents across the polished table surface. We'll terminate him immediately, the VP announces to the room. Issue a statement distancing ourselves from his actions. Make it clear this was an isolated incident, not reflective of company policy. In the FBI's temporary command center, Alina reviews footage from Thompson's 15-year employment history. The pattern emerges with unmistakable clarity. Hundreds of non-white visitors subjected to enhanced screening, while their white counterparts pass through with perfunctory checks. The timestamps tell their own damning story. Average wait time for white visitors, 47 seconds. For minorities, 12.3 minutes. Director, an analyst calls, gesturing toward her screen. We've found something in the financial records. Alina leans over the display, scanning rapidly. Every discrimination complaint filed against Thompson shows the same pattern. Initial documentation, preliminary investigation, then nothing. Cases closed without resolution. Paperwork vanished from the system. Cross-reference these dates, she instructs, indicating the complaint dismissals, with FedGuard's payment records to federal officials. The analyst's fingers fly across the keyboard. Data points align with damning precision. 17 complaints disappeared after 17 payments to a consulting firm owned by the former security director's spouse. Thompson's phone buzzes again. He answers this time, his uncle's voice immediate and sharp. Say nothing. Admit nothing. We're handling this. They have recordings, Thompson replies, his voice hollow. Everything I said to her. Everything. Silence stretches across the connection before his uncle responds, Then you're on your own. And the line goes dead. Reynolds sits across from an FBI interviewer, his retirement photo on his desk visible in the background, a reminder of what he stands to lose and what he hopes to preserve. Yes, he confirms, voice steady despite his trembling hands. I witnessed Officer Thompson apply different standards based on race consistently throughout our time working together. I reported it twice in 2022, once in 2023. He pauses. The complaints disappeared. After the second one, my shift schedule was changed to night duty for 3 months. Taylor provides names, dates, specific incidents, a catalog of abuses witnessed but never formally reported. We all knew, they admit, shame evident in their downcast eyes. But he had protection from above. Anyone who spoke up found themselves reassigned or worse. The evidence mounts hour by hour. 17 current and former security officers come forward with similar accounts. Security logs reveal systematic patterns of discriminatory treatment. Internal emails between FedGuard executives discuss Thompson's approach with knowing euphemisms and tacit approval. In the executive boardroom of FedGuard's headquarters, CEO Gail Winters receives the preliminary findings with calculated composure. This is clearly one rogue employee, she says to the FBI representatives. We have strict anti-discrimination policies that... Alina slides a thick file across the polished table surface. 342 complaints across 62 federal facilities in the past 5 years. All involving your personnel. All mysteriously resolved without action. She opens the file, revealing emails, financial records, and internal memos bearing FedGuard letterhead. This isn't about one bad apple, Ms. Winters. Your company has systematically buried discrimination complaints, intimidated witnesses, and retaliated against those who spoke up. Winters's corporate mask slips momentarily before she recovers. These allegations are concerning, if true. We'll conduct an internal— This isn't an allegation, Alina interrupts. It's evidence of contract fraud, obstruction of justice, and civil rights violations. Your company is now under federal investigation. The news breaks 48 hours later. FBI uncovers systematic discrimination in federal security contractor, reads the headline. Thompson's name appears in paragraph 3, his 15-year record of abuse summarized in clinical detail. His phone stops ringing. FedGuard's legal team no longer answers his calls. The union representative responds with a terse email. Given the overwhelming evidence, we cannot provide representation in this matter. As Thompson watches the scandal unfold on his television, more stories emerge. Security officers at facilities across the country come forward with similar accounts. Former employees reveal pressure from management to scrutinize certain profiles more intensively than others. The public reaction is swift and unequivocal. Protests form outside FedGuard headquarters. Government oversight committees announce emergency hearings. 3 major federal agencies suspend their contracts pending investigation. Thompson turns off the TV, the silence of his apartment pressing against him like a physical weight. The doorbell rings, an unexpected sound in his self-imposed isolation. Through the peephole, he sees 2 figures in dark suits, their posture unmistakably official. Federal agents stand on his doorstep, warrant in hand. The consequences of years of unchecked power abuse finally crystallizing into this moment of reckoning. As Thompson opens the door, he realizes too late that his uncle has already struck a deal to save himself. The federal administrative hearing room hums with restrained energy. Morning light filters through high windows, illuminating dust motes that drift like suspended time across the polished wood panels. Thompson sits alone at the respondent's table, his court-appointed union representative maintaining a careful 6 inches of separation between them, physical distance mirroring professional disavowal. Across the aisle, the government's table hosts 3 attorneys from the Justice Department's Civil Rights Division, their preparations methodical and unhurried. They don't glance Thompson's way. They don't need to. Their case rests in the 12 evidence binders stacked between them, each page a brick in the wall being built around Thompson's career. The side door opens. FedGuard's legal team enters, taking seats in the galley rather than at Thompson's table. Their message is unmistakable. He stands alone. "All rise," the bailiff announces as the 3-member panel enters. The administrative judge, flanked by representatives from the Office of Personnel Management and the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, takes her seat at the elevated bench. In the matter of security clearance revocation and employment termination for Officer Gregory Thompson, she begins, her voice betraying no emotion. This panel will hear evidence regarding allegations of civil rights violations, abuse of authority, and falsification of federal records. Thompson's representative rises, his demeanor already telegraphing defeat. "My client wishes to enter a statement of mitigating circumstances, Your Honor." While not disputing the recorded evidence, Officer Thompson maintains that he was following established, if unofficial, protocols consistent with his training and— "Your Honor," the lead justice attorney interrupts, rising smoothly. "Before the respondent attempts to distribute responsibility, we would like to present evidence that his actions were not only deliberate, but represented a pattern spanning 15 years of employment." The first witness called is Reynolds, Thompson's former partner. He avoids eye contact as he takes the stand, his posture that of a man carrying a heavy burden he's eager to set down. "Officer Reynolds," the attorney begins, "in your 14 years working alongside the respondent, did you observe differential treatment of visitors based on race or ethnicity?" Reynolds clears his throat. "Yes, consistently." "And what happened when you reported these observations?" "The first time, I was told to learn how real security works. The second time, my shift was changed to nights for 3 months. After that—" He pauses, shame evident in his downcast eyes. "I stopped reporting it." Throughout the morning, the testimony builds, Taylor describing Thompson's intimidation tactics, Patel recounting how security complaints mysteriously vanished after being forwarded to FedGuard management. A parade of former visitors sharing similar experiences of humiliation and discrimination at Thompson's checkpoint. After lunch recess, the panel views the compiled video evidence, a devastating montage spanning years, showing Thompson's systematic pattern of differential treatment. The timestamps tell their own damning story. White visitors processed in under a minute. Minorities detained for extended random screenings. When Thompson finally takes the stand, desperation has replaced his former arrogance. His eyes dart around the room, searching for a sympathetic face and finding none. "I was just being thorough," he insists, voice cracking under pressure. "Security requires judgment calls. Some profiles require additional scrutiny based on statistical risk factors." "What specific risk factors led you to detain Director Davis?" the attorney asks. Thompson hesitates, the trap evident but unavoidable. "She didn't look like she belonged there." "Didn't look like she belonged," the attorney repeats, letting the words hang in the air. "And what exactly does someone who belongs in a federal building look like, Officer Thompson?" The question remains unanswered as the attorney plays the recording of Thompson's threats to make Alina disappear. The room falls silent, the naked prejudice in his voice echoing off wood-paneled walls. In his closing statement, Thompson abandons his prepared remarks, desperation fracturing his composure. "Everyone does it," he blurts out. "I'm just the one who got caught. There's an understanding about who gets extra scrutiny. It comes from the top down." The panel deliberates for just 27 minutes before returning their unanimous decision. Termination effective immediately. Security clearance permanently revoked. Pension rights forfeited. Referral to the U.S. Attorney's Office for criminal charges of civil rights violations, threatening a federal officer, and falsification of official records. As Thompson exits the hearing room, a process server waits in the hallway with civil suit papers. Outside, he discovers his car has been repossessed overnight, the first domino in the financial collapse that follows termination. His phone rings. The display shows unknown caller. "Uncle Robert?" he answers hopefully. "This is FedGuard Legal," a cold voice responds. "We're calling to inform you that your company-provided health insurance terminated at midnight. Any statements you make regarding company policies will constitute a violation of your non-disclosure agreement." The line goes dead before he can respond. As Thompson reaches his empty parking space, a news crew spots him, cameras turning toward his face like predators scenting blood. 6 months later, the Philadelphia FBI field office security checkpoint gleams under new lighting. Gone are the intimidating dark corners and isolated screening rooms. In their place stands an open-concept design with transparent privacy screens and clearly posted procedures in multiple languages. Taylor, now wearing the insignia of compliance officer, conducts a training session for newly hired security personnel. "The touchstone of our approach is consistency," they explain, gesturing to the flowchart displayed on the wall monitor. "Every visitor receives identical screening steps regardless of appearance, accent, or attire." The trainees, a visibly diverse group, take notes as Taylor continues, "Our metrics are now publicly displayed. Average wait times, secondary screening percentages, complaint resolution rates, all updated in real time and reviewed daily." Across the building, Reynolds leads an internal affairs briefing, his former discomfort replaced with purposeful authority. "The new reporting system bypasses contractor management entirely," he explains to field office security liaisons. "Complaints go simultaneously to FBI oversight and an independent civil rights monitoring group." A split screen shows the parallel transformation occurring nationwide. Security checkpoints renovated for transparency. Guards receiving implicit bias training. Visitors encountering clearly posted rights information at every entrance. In the FedGuard headquarters, the logo has been changed. The company rebranded as Unified Security Solutions, following the settlement that mandated new ownership and management. Federal monitors occupy offices on the executive floor, reviewing every policy change, every hiring decision, every complaint resolution. On Capitol Hill, Alina testifies before the House Oversight Committee, her composed demeanor a counterpoint to the charged atmosphere. Director Davis, the committee chair, asks, "Was your experience at the Philadelphia field office truly a random inspection, or were you specifically investigating Officer Thompson?" "Neither, Congressman," Alina responds. "My visit was part of a coordinated effort following patterns we identified in dismissed complaints. After the 7th minority complainant reported being threatened with disappearance at that checkpoint, we recognized that documenting the behavior would require experiencing it firsthand." The hearing reveals that Thompson was merely the most visible symptom of a systemic disease. Statistics scroll across the committee room displays. 74% of minority visitors subjected to enhanced screening compared to 12% of white visitors. Average detention time 3 times longer for non-white individuals. Complaint dismissal rates showing unmistakable racial disparities. The resulting legislation passes with rare bipartisan support. The Federal Facility Equal Access Act establishes independent oversight of security contractors, mandates body cameras for all checkpoint personnel, creates a publicly accessible complaint tracking system, and requires annual certification in non-discriminatory practices. News montages show security companies nationwide implementing proactive reforms. Corporate executives suddenly discovering the urgent importance of diversity initiatives and bias training. The statistics tell their own story of grudging improvement. Discrimination complaints down 63% across federal facilities. Processing time disparities reduced by 78%. Visitor satisfaction ratings rising steadily across demographic groups. Meanwhile, Thompson applies for a minimum wage security position at a suburban shopping mall. The hiring manager's expression shifts as she reviews his application, recognition dawning in her eyes. "Gregory Thompson? Aren't you that guy from the news? The one who threatened the FBI director?" He leaves without a response, another rejection added to the growing pile. As former security corporations scramble to rebrand, Alina quietly prepares her next undercover operation targeting federal housing discrimination. 1 year later, Alina steps through the revolving doors of the Philadelphia FBI field office. The transformation is immediately apparent. Not just in the physical space with its redesigned security area and transparent protocols, but in the atmosphere itself. Gone is the tension that once hummed beneath the surface like faulty wiring. In its place rests a steady current of professional focus. The security team that greets her reflects the full spectrum of American diversity. Officer Mendez processes her credentials with efficient courtesy, maintaining the same procedural rhythm he uses for every visitor. The standardized greeting, the consistent eye contact, the respectful tone, all applied without variation, without exception. "Good morning, Director Davis," he says, returning her identification. "You're expected in Conference Room 3. Where Thompson's desk once dominated the entrance, an information kiosk now stands, staffed by a rotating team of security personnel providing visitor guidance. The prominently displayed digital dashboard shows real-time metrics. Average wait time, currently 142. Secondary screening rate, 7%. Active complaints, 0. Resolved issues, 3. Taylor meets her at the elevator, their former nervousness replaced with quiet confidence. "Director, we've prepared the quarterly compliance report as requested." In the conference room, Reynolds and Patel await with Wilson, who now serves as ethics liaison between security contractors and federal oversight. The conversation flows easily as they share implementation challenges and unexpected successes. The most surprising outcome, Patel notes, has been the improvement in security effectiveness. When officers stopped focusing on profile-based screening and started applying consistent protocols, they actually identified more genuine security issues. Reynolds nods in agreement. "Last month, a white businessman in an expensive suit set off 6 red flags in our behavioral screening that would have been overlooked in the old system. Turned out he was attempting industrial espionage." Chen adds, "The standardized approach has spread beyond this building. I'm now training security officers nationwide on our protocols." The scene shifts to a dimly lit warehouse across town. Thompson, now considerably thinner, patrols empty corridors as a night watchman, the only employment his tarnished record could secure. He passes a break room where a small television broadcasts an interview with the FBI director discussing the sweeping reforms implemented in federal security. The Thompson incident, the anchor calls it, the capitalization audible in his tone, has become a watershed moment in federal civil rights enforcement. Thompson's face hardens as he watches his legacy take shape. Not as the protector of institutions he imagined himself to be, but as the cautionary example, the case study in abuse of power that officers in training now examine. He continues his rounds, passing his reflection in darkened windows, a ghost drifting through spaces where he no longer matters. Back at the field office, Alina concludes her visit with a walk through the main lobby. She observes a young black woman entering the building, receiving the same professional treatment as the white executive who follows her. No extra scrutiny, no power plays, no humiliation disguised as procedure. The woman moves through security without incident, without trauma, without being made to feel less than, exactly as it should be. Outside another federal building in another city, Alina approaches security without her credentials displayed. The officer, a young black woman, greets her with the same standardized welcome used for all visitors. ID and purpose of visit, please, she requests professionally. Alina presents her identification, which the officer processes with efficient courtesy, unaware she's interacting with the FBI director, just another visitor receiving equal treatment under standardized protocols. Alina smiles as she passes through, noting how things should have always been. True power isn't about making others disappear, it's about ensuring everyone is finally seen. Don't miss another moment of justice served. Hit that subscribe button and join the Beat Stories community where we expose power abusers and celebrate those who stand their ground. Like, comment, and share if you believe in accountability at every level. Turn on notifications so you never miss our weekly drops of satisfying justice stories that prove karma is real, and sometimes she wears a badge. Beat Stories, because some beats are best served with justice.